Welcome to the Be About It podcast. My name is Ben Mercedes, and I'll be your host. We'll cover financial and crypto markets, real estate, and entrepreneurship. The goal is to inspire others to be about it and take action.
In episode 9, I sit down with Jonaed Iqbal, who's the founder of NoDegree.com. We discuss how to land interviews and obtain jobs without a degree, pointers for resume creation, and more. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Today I have Jonaed Iqbal, founder of NoDegree.com, No Degree podcast, resume writer, speaker, career coach. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you.
Yeah, man, I'm glad I found you on LinkedIn, saw your posts, and as soon as I saw the NoDegree.com thing, like my eyes lit up because for me, I come from an entrepreneurial family, and it's kind of like what I preach. Like, you don't need to spend $200,000 on a degree that's going to net you $60,000 a year. You know what I mean?
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I have friends who have taken 6-figure loans and like they're paying a mortgage note just to have a basic job.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I'm super passionate about. So I'm happy that you're on. And yeah, man, why don't you start with, why don't you tell us your story and speak to how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep like the abridged version.
Sure.
So let's kind of talk about how it started, because people always ask me, how'd you start NoDegree.com? And I have a master's degree, unfortunately, that I paid a little for.
Yeah.
And so April 2014, right? I'm in grad school. So you know Reddit, right?
Yep.
So someone asks on Ask Reddit, for those of you without a college degree, what do you do and how'd you get the job? And they said, for those of you without a college degree who make over 6 figures. And it was like, I'm a claims adjuster. I'm a surveyor. I'm in tech. I got this certification. And I was like, nobody grows up and says, I want to be a claims adjuster.
Mm-hmm.
No, people don't even know about these jobs. And it was like, how'd you get the job? My uncle, my cousin, my neighbor. It was all right place, right time. And then I was like, what if you don't have that uncle, cousin, or friend? Are you doomed to sort of work in fast food or retail, sort of making minimum wage or just, getting these promotions? I remember I used to work at Barnes & Nobles. I remember the raises were like 25 cents like a year. And it's like, dude, 25 cents, you work 8 hours a day, you got $2 extra a day. Like, you can't do nothing with $2. You can't even afford a latte at the own store that you work at for $2. So
literally.
So then I thought, you know what? Why can't I be that uncle, cousin, or friend? Right? I could really educate people about career, because the biggest thing is just lack of awareness. And then I searched up some domains. I searched up trades.com. It was for sale, but I was like, that's 6-figure domain. And, that's multi-million-dollar domain. I searched up nodegree.com, put in an inquiry, didn't think anything. And then a few days later, someone sent the email. I didn't answer. And then someone sent another email. I was like, hey, we're willing to sell the site for $1,800. And then I was like, dang, I'm in college. I called like 2 of my buddies. I was like, yo, we could do this. Like, we could do this thing. And yeah, they were down for it. But one of my business partners, he was like, hey, we could negotiate because they're domain resellers. Let's negotiate. And we got it for like $1,433.
Sweet.
And that was when the dream, like, I've always had the dream. I didn't have the detail, but I was like, look, I really just want to educate. It's going to be like a blog type. I'm going to just teach people. We're going to get lots of traffic and I'll make lots of money. Now, over the years, I really did a lot of research. So I learned SEO, I learned marketing, I learned just as much as I could, right? I learned about I grew as a person. Unfortunately, I don't come from a wealthy family. So I needed to sort of work. And I sort of needed to work to get my parents off my back, right? My parent. And so I worked as an actuary. For those of you who don't know, an actuary is someone who calculates insurance prices. So how do you calculate insurance price? Because you're predicting the likelihood that someone's going to crash. And so how much do you price car insurance for a 32-year-old male who lives in Brooklyn with a red Honda Civic? That's 2007. So that's what actuaries do. They forecast data. Now, like, I majored in math. I was really good at math. I got my master in actual science. But the thing is, like, my dream was NoDegree.com. Like, I just needed a job to sort of pay off the student loans, but the dream was NoDegree.com. So as an actuary, you have to pass these exams that take hundreds of hours to study. 100 to 300 hours, depending on how smart you are. So I passed 2 exams, and the way you keep your job is you have to pass an exam every 18 months. So what I did was I was like, look, I'll pass the exam in the last time frame, get my 18-month extension, and work on the business. So that's what I did. Worked on the business, passed the exam, worked on the business, passed the exam. And then towards the end, I was like in danger of failing. And I was like, yo, I don't want to keep studying hundreds of hours for exams. for a career that I'm going to leave, I could put hundreds of hours into my business and level up that way. And so I did. So then I just had a regular job that I didn't have to study outside of work. And then that was like government and a government contractor, but they're very inflexible. Like I remember one time they wrote a note, like, you got to come in earlier to work. But I was like, I was getting my work done. So I'm always a fan of like, are you getting the work done and are you causing an issue? It's like, it doesn't matter whether you come at 9 a.m. or noon, as long as you're not impacting the work. That's my philosophy, right? Government is very strict, like, hey, come in at this time, take lunch at this time and all that stuff. So then I worked for my dad's friend. And then eventually it was just like, that was good. But eventually I was like, I knew everything I had to do for nodegree.com. I just didn't have enough time to do it. Like in the beginning, it was just me learning about the business, learning what I could do. But now it's like, I know what I'm going to do. And one of the things I would encourage a lot of entrepreneurs to do is minimize your cost. I was able to minimize my costs by living with my parents. I mean, I still live with my parents because the way I look at it is that's money I can invest back into my business.
Absolutely.
And look, I'm fortunate enough. Like, I'm not going to say did I grow up rich? No. But did I grow up hungry and poor? Like a lot of people, like I have roof over my head. I have that. So I understand that's a blessing. And I quit my job. I was broke for the next like 17 months. I had to make money for like a year and a half. And I started making money doing resume. But in that time frame, I was like active on LinkedIn. I was networking like crazy, just doing what I do. And then, it's one of those things. The beauty is that as you keep doing this, things really start coming together, right? Like I had great results in 2020, despite it being the pandemic. Like I, really adapted. 2021 was even better results. And then this year's looking even better. And it's just like every year's like growth and stuff. So I'm really happy that I made that move despite having that struggle. And that's like the short version. And my dream is to remove the stigma attached to people without college degrees, because so many times you tell someone you don't have a college degree, or a kid tells someone, hey, I don't want to go to college, I want to do this. They're just like, are you going to flip burgers? Are you going to do this? What's your backup plan? And they don't realize that there's so much more and there's so much opportunity if you do the right things.
Absolutely. School teaches us that we have to go to school to get a good degree, to get a good job. And it's just like, obviously it's not true. I love how you kind of approach that, and you mentioned, hey, I have this 18-month window, so I'm going to execute and work on my business.
Yeah.
Just very entrepreneurial all throughout. I thought that, was amazing. For anyone who doesn't know, Jonaed has a very big LinkedIn following. If you can grow your network, right? The saying is, your net worth is a byproduct of your net worth, of your network, right? So, I mean, if you can just grow a really big network, there's money to be made. You know what I mean? No matter what you're doing, no matter what service you're providing. If you're providing someone with value, then there are connections that you already have. And you can have your own business. You can have your own side business when you're starting your job. So I think that's awesome, man. Do you currently still have partners in the business?
Yeah. So I have, it's a total of, one of my partners unfortunately resigned due to some differences, but we're still good friends and stuff.
For sure.
So I have two businesses. One of them is a team of 4, including me. The other is a team of 3, including me. And one of the partners is in both businesses. So it's cool. And the partner that's in both businesses, I knew him since the 7th grade. So
that's awesome.
We have a very good dynamic, and we grew up together. You always have a little up and down, nothing crazy, but it's good that you have someone who, business partner, but also my car broke down at 2 a.m. Can you come get me? So that's a cool dynamic, man.
That's awesome. Now tell me about with nodegree.com. You guys handle resume writing?
Yeah. So I'll tell you something. So the vision of nodegree.com is I make money off employers posting jobs. To get that, because what happens is if you don't have a degree and you're applying for jobs, you go on Indeed, it'll say preferred qualifications, bachelor's degree or equivalent experience. And you don't know how open they are. Sometimes they just do it for HR reasons, but you don't know how open they are. I want it to be a place where if you apply, you're not going to get eliminated due to your lack of a degree. Maybe you need a certification, or something like that. You need the experience, but you're not going to get eliminated due to the lack of degree. So that's the end goal. In the near goal is I do resume writing, I do career coaching, I do recruiting and stuff. And this is all just to fund it back into the business so it has revenue so I could reinvest. The main reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't want venture capital and I don't want funding. Because what happens is I'm a very mission-driven organization. Whether I make $2 million a year or $3 million, and I'm not making that, but whether I make that, to me, it's the same amount of money. But once you get funding, if you say, hey, I can make 2 million doing it this way, 3 million doing it this way, but I have to compromise my principles or I have to do something I'm not comfortable with. They'll be like, go chase that return. And to me, that's not worth it because I know what's going to happen. It's just going to be like, give as little value as possible and charge as much as you can so we can raise more money and exit.
That's the venture capitalist game, my man.
It is. And I don't want any part of that game. I also don't want someone with the PhD or whatever from Harvard being on the board and stuff. Like, I want to help people. Like, I do workshops for like nonprofits and I don't get a dime. You think like venture capitalists, they'll be like, oh, make sure everybody knows you did that. Make sure you get on the front cover of New York Times. It's like, no, I just want to help that kid who just never had a shot and realizes that there's so much opportunity out there. And I don't need that huge recognition. I don't need the money from that because I know how it is. And I've seen how it is for people. So to them, it's like, hey, where's the ROI? Everything's ROI. And it's like, that's not why I do things. Obviously, you have to focus on ROI on certain activities, but I don't want it to be the first thing that I'm always worried about.
I love it, man. I love it. It sounds like integrity. It sounds like morals. It sounds like, you have your mind made up on like, my company is going to run this way or, it'll be dissolved before I take, venture capital.
Yeah. No, I mean,
which is good, man. Because every time, I don't know, I see a lot of companies. I've been a part of companies where venture capital comes in and culture and everything just changes.
Dude, it changes
overnight. So that's awesome, man. Tell me, so I guess, do you have any actionable tips? Say someone's looking for a certain job. I mean, I see posts every day in the LinkedIn Premium group where it's like, I'm submitting my resume, I'm getting nothing back. How can those people stand out? And how can you help them? Yeah.
So what I would say is, and you don't even need to use me. I see so many, I've seen thousands of resumes. I've done over 300. A lot of them have the same issues. Like the formatting is not good. That's the big thing. Like I've seen a lot of formats and it's like, you're not communicating. It's just all over the place. There's something called the ATS, the applicant tracking system. It scans the resumes and it gives you a match. So this person's a 1 out of 5. This person's a 2 out of 5. And then or recruiters will search up keywords like we need someone Google ad certified and all that stuff. You can be that and you can be a great candidate. But if the system cannot pick up that you're a good match, you're less likely to get through. You're not completely unlikely. It's just less likely. So you have to think about, hey, I have to make my resume as simple and as clear as possible. Don't use these fancy designs. Don't put pictures. They don't need all that. The goal is you just want to see what companies have you worked at, how long have you worked at, and what were your titles, and keep the lines simple. Like, what did you do? Who did you do it? What was the context? And how much money did you make? Or how much time did you save? What was the impact? And obviously, you don't have to have everything at once, but keep it simple. Just what you did, the impact. I've had people even like at tire shops get good jobs. Why? Because they quantify things. Like a lot of people will say, hey, I worked in a fast-paced environment and changed high volume of tires. What does high volume even mean? Like your high volume, maybe my super high volume, maybe someone's low volume. Just give the number. And in that time, I'll ask a lot of people, be like, hey, how many tires did you change a day? And they'll give me a number. And I was like, how many days a week do you work? Oh, I work 5 days a week. How many months? 6. So I was like, if we do it, you change about 10,000 tires. And he'd be like, yeah, you're right. And I'll see a lot of people, like, they don't think about how much transactions. They'll be like, I helped sell. How many iPhones did you help sell? How many customers did you help? Put these things in because now you don't have to say you're busy. Now you show some, customer service.
It quantifies it. Yeah,
it quantifies
the data.
Yeah, so quantify it. And then the other thing is be strategic in how you apply. Don't spend 2 hours on an application. You're better off applying to 10 jobs in that time. Be strategic, be smart. I mean, it gets overwhelming, but be smart about what you do, have a good format, and quantify things. And then here's the other thing. If you don't have enough experience, create or gain your own experience. That's something a lot of people don't get. You don't have enough experience. Volunteer for like 2 hours a week. Volunteer for an organization. You want to work in marketing? Go help the local deli with their Instagram page. Get some customers. Mm-hmm. You have some marketing experience. You want to do sales? Help someone be like, look, I'll do commission-only sales. Like, figure out a way to, like, really help. And it's not like you have to do 40 hours a week, even a few hours a week. Work on some spreadsheet. Take some online courses. Do these things. And a lot of times I see those posts that they're like, oh, I applied to 300 jobs, nothing. I saw one person. I was like, hey, look, I'll help you. You don't have a degree. You know what happened? I looked at her resume. First of all, the first page, it's like 2 pages, which is fine, but it has to be good 2 pages. Her thing should have been 1. She has a list of like 20 words. She has like team building, leadership on lines. And I was like, no one looks at the word team building and is like, yes, Ben has team building. You know, like people put these words and it's like words by themselves don't have meaning. Now, if you gave an example of how you built a team, how you grew a team, how you promoted people, how you trained them, how you did X, Y, that's team leadership. So a lot of people will put these things and I was like, look, they'll say sales leadership. Show an example, give an example. So it doesn't mean anything. It'll help the computer maybe, but then when it gets in front of the person and then the person, dude, she didn't have her email or phone number. So now you have a bad resume and it's just like, come on, you're just making it hard for yourself. It's like, how are they going to call you? Now they have to go into the application, go get your number. If you didn't fill it out, it just really hurts you.
You're making it harder for them, for HR.
Make it easy to be helped. I think it's just even like, make it like you're an entrepreneur, you get people mentoring, make it easy for someone to help you. Because when you make it hard, like you get asked these questions like, how do I become successful? It's like, dude, they're like, read 10 books and then ask me a specific question. It's like, you need to give me a specific answer. If you're like, hey, my business, the sales have gone down 10%. I'm this much organization. I'm in marketing. Here's what I've tried. What would you recommend I do? That you can answer. But the other thing is like, dude, I got to send you like hour-long YouTube videos and this and that. I don't know your business. So make it easy for people to help you and you'd be surprised at how far you get.
I like that a lot, man. So you recommend one page resumes?
No.
Two if they're good?
Two at most.
Two at most.
In general, because if they don't like you in 2, they're not going to like you in 3, unless in very specific situations, right? You're a contractor for several years. Here's the thing. Your resume needs to be as long as it communicates effective things. Like, don't make it 2 pages because you're talking about how you played baseball in high school and you help the chess club grow. But if you're leaving out relevant info, I see so many people stuck on, I got to keep it a page. I'm like, dude, you've been working you have like 8 to 12 years of growing experience where you did a lot. You've done so much. Keep it 2 pages. So it's more about make it 1 page. You got to adjust 1 to 2 pages. Make sure all the things are relevant and it's highlighting the right things. And it's reason like, if you remove this thing, would it get you hired? And I've seen a lot of people, just formatting is the reason why it's 2 pages. Like, make the margins a little thinner, space things out a little differently without it being overwhelming. Don't cram it so it looks like a huge block of text. But that's the big thing. Like some people say 1 page, 1 page, you have to have 1 page. And I asked them, if a recruiter or a hiring manager saw a great resume that had all the right things, but it was 2 pages, would they not call that person back? And they're like, yeah, I would. So exactly. That's the thing. But now if it's like 4 pages and it's all over the place and you're like, what is this person doing? It's like, hey, this person can't even put a document together. How am I supposed to? They don't know how to put themselves together.
The more I see things, I see people like yourself who help with resumes, and it's just like, if you're not good, I'm not good with that stuff.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking for a new job, I'm finding someone like you to put together a nice resume. I'm finding a photographer to give me an updated headshot so my LinkedIn is on point. Like, you need to pay for that stuff, update it, because it's going to give you a better chance when you are applying to jobs.
And you know what? So look, and I tell people, look, this is how you do it yourself. And look, I'll tell some people, like, if someone comes to me and I give them a free review, I'll be like, look, your resume is good. Do these things and your resume should be good. And you're right. You really have to pay someone who's good. And make sure you check the reviews and all that, because unfortunately, sometimes I'm the 3rd resume writer someone uses because they didn't do something. So if you're looking for a resume writer, make sure that the formatting does not have anything special. If they use fancy formatting, run away. They're a waste of time. And like you said, like, I'm going to go pay a photographer for a headshot. It just, you see the difference. You see the difference in quality, and you have to think about it as an investment. Like, I'm going to tell you, I rejected a lot of clients. I know some clients are not going to work because I see how they look at the job search. Because I tell them, they're like, hey, I'll do it myself. And I tell them, every month you're in the job search, you lose out on that extra job. You lose out on the extra experience. Like, I've had people who are unemployed and they were looking, and then they were with me, and in a month they're getting something at a salary that they didn't think they could get. Like, I've gotten people salary ranges in the 30 to 70K range. And I'm like, look, you do it yourself, you get 10K. I'll get you 30 to 70K. And it's not for everyone. It depends on their experience. And then they're like, what is a couple $100? And I ask people, like, what is your next job worth to you? And I've gotten people into like these big companies, and I tell them, you could do it yourself, do the research, you have the referrals and all that. If you can, great. But spend time doing research. What a lot of people don't get is that I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of career research, and I'm still learning things every day. Like, people are still telling me, I'm like, wow, that's the thing. So that's the difference. It's like, I just make it so much quicker, and I help you understand all these scenarios that you just Google and everybody's saying different things, right? One person says 1 page, one person says 2 page. It's like, what's the answer for me? And it's like, look, they're both kind of right in some ways. And how do you digest that information?
I agree. Thinking through, a lot of people, especially in the premium group, they'll say, hey, I'm submitting applications. I'm submitting my resume. I never get a call back. Do you have any actionable steps for people to take who, get crickets or get ghosted after they fill those things out?
Look up what the ATS is. It's applicant tracking system. I've seen people just off formatting changes go from no interviews to interviews, despite having good resume. Then just actually look at it, show it to someone, and make sure it has things. Like I was recruiting for a role, and this person, they would have got a call back. They had an employee referral. They were looking for an entry-level marketing role. It didn't pay much, but it was a good way into the industry. They worked at a restaurant and stuff. They had no mention of social media, no mention of the word marketing, no mention of like Google Analytics or something like that. Whereas someone else who actually got the job, he worked as a janitor, but he wrote that he got Google Ads certified. He wrote that he took this certification, this and that, and he's working towards something. So one person I can actually call back and go to the interview, whereas the other person, if I send him, they're like, why'd you send this person who works at a restaurant who doesn't even mention anything?
It's not relevant, right?
It's not relevant at all. And look, your experience is your experience, but you got to show like, hey, like even in the summary, show that you're looking for marketing, or else it just looks like, hey, did you just apply hoping to get something?
Right. I obviously agree with that. Thinking through, your points earlier where it's like, if you don't have the relevant experience, intern for it. Do it for free just so you have the experience. I mean, there are so many free courses online that you can take to get, I remember taking, I think it was basically like technical courses. I forget the website, but it was to get like cloud certified and another certification when I was still in corporate work, and thinking of transitioning into like cloud work and stuff like that, for a company like VMware or something like that. And just my friend who was already working for the job, he was like, listen, take these 4 certifications online. They're all free. Order this book, get certified in that, and like just putting that effort in again is going to help him refer me to HR.
Yeah, networking goes far too. But here's the thing about networking. It amplifies your efforts, and you got to listen to the person, because I've networked with people. I've told them exactly what to do. And a few months later, I got busy. I didn't like this and that. And it's like, dude, so that's why it's like, I feel bad, but now I have to be more selective with my time, because I come across, I've given advice, I've told people to do the right things, and then they don't do it. And it's like, dude, you just wasted my time. I don't mind spending the time with you, but it's like, you got to spend that time. And you've probably seen it yourself, like, hey, did you do this? Did you do this? And a lot of people don't listen. So it's like, I have to be a little more selective. And that's why I have the podcast, where it's like, if someone listens to a podcast, they're like, yo, I need some help. I'm always like, even if they listen to half an episode, I'll like spend time with them. But I found, like, I had someone who messaged me, and it was like after a year, he said, hey, I need help. This and that. I was like, oh, listen to my podcast, a lot of good things. A year later, he's like, I've tried everything and nothing works. Right? I was like, yo, did you listen to an episode of my podcast? He's like, no. I was like, dude, like, how do you say you tried everything? And the first thing I asked you, you didn't even try. So that's something. It's like, be strategic and a lot, and spend time on LinkedIn, man. I'll tell you, like, I learned a lot off resumes purely off LinkedIn. Just, I looked at it.
Yeah. Lately, I've been like looking at your page, looking at other people's pages. And it's literally a digital resume.
Yeah.
It's this digital landing page that is formatted somewhat like a resume.
Yeah.
But there's a science to it. There's an art to it to have a crafting and attention commanding LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
That allows people to land on that and then end up in your DM. Or literally this week, like I committed to LinkedIn about a month ago. I had a page before. I never posted, right? Well, what do I want to be on LinkedIn for? It's too like, professional and boring. All right. It totally not what I was expecting it was going to be, because I haven't been on it in a long time. And I got 2 emails just this week off of connections that I made or things that I did on LinkedIn that turned into emails in my inbox, which, I mean, I just had a consult earlier with one of them, previous client. They basically want to like add new video assets to some content that we shot years ago, back in like 2019.
Yeah.
Look, I still have the files. That's going to turn into a paid project.
Yeah.
And probably multiple paid projects based off of a post that I posted on LinkedIn. I tagged the company, and because I tagged the company and added the new marketing person, they ended up in my inbox. So like,
it's magical, dude.
Work LinkedIn. Even, and what I'm learning too is that it's not like you just got to stop selling. Like you literally are here to just make friends. Like treat it like a networking event. Make friends,
dude. LinkedIn is perpetual networking event on steroids. And here's the other thing. I'm going to tell you a secret. The profile is not even as important as the actions and activity you have on the platform. Comments, supporting others, just being friendly, helping others, what you do offline to just support everyone. That's what's much more important on LinkedIn, right? A lot of people think they have to have this perfect profile, that they do all these things. And it's like, dude, most people get like 5 or 6 likes. Be the 7th like and be the comment. You'd be surprised at how much more easily you can get someone on the phone. You'd be surprised at how much free advice and informational interviews. And there's so much good advice in terms of their LinkedIn Lives. There's also Twitter Spaces. And you just never know. Like, it's honestly, it's crazy. Like, the amount of things that have happened. Like, I met my business partner on LinkedIn. We never met in person, right? I met my podcast editor, and I met him because he got fired because of my other assistant who is in Belize. And she's like, hey, do you need a podcast editor? I was like, yeah, actually I do. And now he's like helping me. Now he's doing YouTube. And I hired her husband. And it's all these things because of LinkedIn, of just being active. And here's the other thing. You don't necessarily need to do it on LinkedIn. It can be done on any platform. What you do have to do is go out, support others, put yourself out there, and just magical things will happen.
Yeah, even obviously I'm on Facebook. I'm in some business groups on there.
Yeah.
The business groups on Facebook are not the same as the timeline on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's not.
When people are on Facebook, they're not in career mode. Right?
Yeah.
They're just in like family and friends mode. Maybe there's some, there's some business to be done on Facebook.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different world on LinkedIn. And when you follow, good people and you kind of curate your feed, you're going to continuously find more people like that, right? The algorithm is going to feed you more content like that. And so just in the past month, I've gotten over, like someone was like, hey, you got to get your connections over 500. So I'm dialed in and I'm trying to think through like who I personally want to work with. In terms of video work. But I'm already seeing results, man. Happy to be podcasting with you. Appreciate your time. I've heard it someone said, if you're submitting for a job, you submit the application, you submit your resume, you can wait for a callback, or you can kind of carouse LinkedIn, find someone who might be a boss in your department. Yeah. Maybe shoot them a DM, maybe shoot them a video message. What do you think about that?
Dude, video messages, I've heard from other people, 1 in 3 response rate. Like, you send a video, and let me tell you, I know someone, all he does is he advises his clients, get a whiteboard, put it behind you, put the company name, and just say, hey, I'd love to work for your company. I recently applied, but I know that things can get lost in the inbox. I'd love to get a 5 to 10 minute conversation with you. I know you're really busy, but let me know if this is something that works. Do something like that. And you'd be surprised. Like, I know people who just like, hey, I applied. I don't want my thing to get lost. Here's what I bring to the table. I'd love a chat. Or this is what I tell my people without degrees. Let's say it says bachelor's degree required. I'll tell them to message someone high up. And I'll be like, hey, I'm really excited about this role. Here's my experience. I'd be more than happy to send my resume, but I saw that it said bachelor's degree required. Is this a hard requirement? And oftentimes someone in leadership is like, nah.
No.
If she has the experience. Right. So now what happens is you got the conversation. Now you're in. So be smart about it. Like, it goes so far.
At that point, you're getting a specific email from a VP, from someone high up in the company. He's going to DM HR. HR is going to pull that up, and you're going to land an interview.
Yeah.
So I love that, man. Video messages I hate doing them, but they are extremely effective. Even voice notes.
Voice notes go far.
Even voice notes, like text only it can only communicate so much.
Yeah, it takes away emotion.
Tone. Yeah, man. So using voice notes more, use video notes more. So, any other actionable
let me add to that.
Steps?
Let me add to that. So this is how you take it to the next level. Because some people don't watch video, they don't watch voice, or they're in the middle of the meeting and they just can read, right? They can't watch the video. So in addition to that, have like a thing. You're like, hey, you may not watch the video because you're in the middle of something, but here's what the video says. So give it like a summary of the video. Format. And the same thing in the voice note, you say that. And then it just adds a different dimension, and also make it easy for them to contact you. Because as I was recruiting, I would say, hey, do you have time tomorrow at 3 p.m.? And they'd be like, yes. And yes, I should have sent in the template like, hey, please respond back with your phone number. But you say, yes, I'm available at 3. Here's the best phone number to reach me at. Or if you want to do Zoom, here's the best email to reach me at. So make it easy. Once you do that, you just make their lives easier. You come across as just someone who's very well put together, and you'll get so much more opportunity.
I love that, man. Yeah, making it easy, like that's a highlight. Making things easy for HR, making it easy for, whoever you're trying to do business with is huge. That whole, adding multiple steps
Yeah.
just to have a conversation with someone or just to like coordinate with someone, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
People don't have time for
You
it.
get lost. I've seen qualified candidates just get lost because they forgot a phone number and then they just lost the email and they forgot the name. Like someone like me, they'd be like, damn, what was that guy's name? Like, how do I spell it? And then it's just, you forget. Another email comes in, you just forget. It's just sometimes people are working on recruiting for 20 to 70 jobs and it's hard to remember everyone.
Absolutely. Jonaed, I think we're approaching our time here, sir. I don't want to hold you. I guess let the listeners know where they can kind of follow up with you. What's your LinkedIn? What's your Twitter? What's your Facebook, Instagram? Where do you like to be followed?
So you have show notes, but if you search up Jonaed, Jonaed's my name. I mean, sorry, the spelling is one of those names that got butchered in translation. Check out nodegree.com. Follow the No Degree podcast. It's on all your favorite platforms. And if you send me a connection on LinkedIn, please let me know, like, hey, I heard you on Ben Mercedes' podcast. Then I'll know, because then I'll be like, cool. Because I always appreciate people who listen to me on podcasts. And, I always try to do what I can to support them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good to know where, people come across you. Send me your socials. I will add them into the show notes. Guys, if you are listening to this podcast, you can hit the like button on YouTube or on whatever audio platform you're listening to. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell on YouTube. Also, check us out on the Fountain app. The Fountain app has some really cool features. One of those is that you can stream Bitcoin to content creators, be it 10 cents worth, $1 worth, $10 worth. And it's the idea of value for value. So if you received something valuable from the show, you can reciprocate that value by sending whatever you would like. And in general, I think that's going to be a game changer just for content creators, because we're going to see that in music. Jack Who Left Twitter is going to roll that out to Tidal, and all those artists are going to have that feature. We're going to see that roll out to like Netflix. It's going to become this thing that like that's how media works in the future. But we're already seeing it with podcasts. It'll come to books. So super excited to be, seeing that roll out and take advantage of it. Jonaed, thank you so much for your time, my man. And we'll talk soon.